Mike Reiss, it's a real honor to talk to you. But big fan of your work for many, many years. The book we're talking to you about is Springfield Confidential: Jokes, Secrets, and Outright Lies from a Lifetime of Writing for The Simpsons. It's great, and I got to tell you, as a Simpsons fan, I enjoyed all of it. But I think that you don't necessarily need to be a super Simpsons fan to get a lot out of this book. Was that done purposely?
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, it's any question a Simpsons fan has is in the book. Nobody has talked to me in the past 6 months. No interviewer, no fan has had a question where I can't say to them, it's in the book. So as a result, nobody ever has to talk to me again. That's why my wife bought 3 copies. But no, a casual fan, anyone who kind of knows, Homer's the big fat one and Bart has spiky hair, that's all you need to know. Someone like my mom, she really enjoyed the book, and she's never seen The Simpsons. So, yeah, if you like TV, if you know who characters roughly are, you'll enjoy the book.
Yeah, but your mom is a bad example because mom's going to like everything you do no matter what. So.
But I'm a good example of that, Mike, because I'm not a Simpsons fan, no offense. I mean, it's not that I dislike it. I just have never gotten into it. But I did really enjoy the book. You go way back into your days at Harvard, the Harvard Lampoon. You meet up with Al Jean, who's local to us. We wanted to ask you about him. Yeah, and then you move through your career with National Lampoon, Airplane 2, Johnny Carson writing for Alf. You wrote for all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot in there that's not necessarily Simpsons specific, which I enjoyed.
That's it. Whether it's Simpsons or not, I just included the interesting parts. Considering it's sort of my memoir, there's very little about me in the book because I'm not the interesting part of the story.
Well, it's funny. Like I knew right away when I opened the book, because we've got a guy here, our producer Eric, Biggie we call him, and he's probably the biggest Simpsons fan on the planet. 3 days a week he's wearing a Simpsons T-shirt. He quotes it too much on our show. But I was like, I bet you didn't know this, and I love reading about like something as simple as the opening credits and the name coming through the clouds.
Yeah, the first page of the book, I said, I'll blow everyone's mind with this, because it was something I knew, and I thought everyone knew it, and then I found out even the writers on the show weren't aware of it, which is when The Simpsons, when the title card comes through the clouds, it comes out, The Simpsons, which is not the way you would break up the word anyhow, but the word Simps comes on screen, and Simps is a term meaning simpletons, stupid people, fools, and that's an intentional joke that has been missed in tens of billions of viewings. Nobody ever got the joke.
It's crazy. And it's like, I actually went and pulled up an episode and I was like, I'll be damned. He's right. Mike Reiss knows what he's talking about. I never noticed that. I've watched all the episodes and I never noticed it. It's interesting stuff like that hardcore fans will get out of the book for sure.
Yeah.
And here you are on the cusp of 30 years with this show. And I mentioned Al Jean a moment ago. And just to set that up a little bit, Mike and I here, we used to work at Al's dad's hardware store in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And so
that is unbelievable.
Yeah, for years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I made a pilgrimage out there. You worked at Gene's Hardware?
Absolutely, we did.
Both of us did.
We put many cigarettes out on that floor, sir.
Yep. we worked with Al's dad, Al Jean. We worked with his brother, Marty Jean, his nephew, Hank Yeomans, Henry Yeomans, and Patty, like all of those people. And it was funny. There was a Halloween episode you guys did where in the credits you included all these names, and all of the people we worked with were in there.
That is so great. I hate to bring down the interview. I don't know if you know, but Al Senior,
I know.
Yeah.
the founder of at Gene's Hardware, passed away.
Yep.
But he's still going into work. That's what a driven, hardworking guy is.
Dude,
and I know Al would approve of that joke. He showed up at work the day after his father passed because he said, that's what my father would have wanted.
Yeah, well,
for sure.
It was a topic of discussion on our show because Jay and I have a shitload of stories about working at Gene's Hardware and how fun it was, and it was such a family business, and it was a great place to work. But we've got all these stories, and so when Al tweeted out about his father's passing, I made a comment, on that tweet, and he actually liked it or retweeted it or something. So, it's funny that this connection though with Gene's Hardware.
But
Wow. So, of course, I was thinking the minute you call, I go, why aren't you interviewing Al? And now I think you've got this connection too. He would love to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But he doesn't have a book to sell. So here I am.
Well, why don't you give us his cell really quick, and we'll give him a buzz later.
I'll give it on the phone. Yeah.
No, but
I'll give you his home. Yeah.
What I remember about our time at Gene's, though, it was my first introduction to The Simpsons, because I remember walking in there one day. It had to be early 90 or late 1989 when the show first started, and everybody's decked out in these Simpsons shirts. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? What is this?
Yeah.
And then all the family members quickly were very proud to tell you that their guy Al Jean was working on this new show, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. I made my pilgrimage there. I was speaking to the Jewish community of Farmington Hills,
sure,
which is, and so I said, well, I'm 2 blocks from Gene's Hardware, and I walk in expecting, the place to be a living shrine to Al Jean, and all I saw was a giant picture of Stewie from Family Guy.
Is that right?
Yeah, I kid you not.
I'll tell you, that family is so smart to a person, like, almost in a autistic way. Like, they're weird smart, like too smart. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way they were. So it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't have a shrine to the Simpsons in there. It's just kind of the way they were. It's a unique family. Jay and I worked there for a long time and love those people. But
amazing.
Yeah, very cool. But when you guys started the Simpsons, I found it interesting that you really didn't think, I think it was the Flintstones that was the last primetime cartoon that actually made a dent. And so you guys had a freedom, I think, that most shows don't, because you didn't think it was going anywhere.
We literally, there was not one person working at the show who had any faith it was going to go beyond 6 episodes. Now, we had made 13 episodes, but back in those days, 88, when a novel show would come on TV, when someone tried to do something different, they would get canceled after 6. And so we said, all right, if nobody's going to watch this, let's just have fun. And, let's make it for ourselves, because we're the only ones watching. And we better jam it full of stuff. I mean, there was this conscious thing that we're never going to get this chance again. So let's pack every episode with the jokes we'll never get to do anywhere else. And that's all those things are what people took a shine to, the fast pace of the show, how surprising it was, the weird body of references. It worked.
And it sounds like you guys pack jokes in at a rate that we can't even comprehend. How many jokes do you think per episode go right over people's heads? Whether it's part of the opening credits or just a subtle thing in the background. And you guys take pride in doing that. Do you think that there's, I don't even know what percentage you'd put on it, but we miss a lot of jokes, don't we?
Yeah, somebody in America gets every joke. I know that. When we would go online in the early days of the internet, we'd go, wow, they got that joke. Someone recognized that reference. They're never inside jokes. We never do a joke just for ourselves and just say, here's that address. We've never done a Gene's Hardware joke on The Simpsons.
Right.
We want people to get the jokes. But we do. But now the strange thing is, I've watched the show in Spanish. I've watched it in different countries, and they don't even bother. Like, South America is where they love The Simpsons more than any place on earth, much more than America. And famously, in Bolivia, they used to show it 4 times a day, and the national government, it was government-run TV, showing it 4 times a day, and then they tried cutting it back to 3 times a day, and there were riots in the streets. So they're hardcore, right? But I watched the show in Spanish. They don't even buy, if a joke is hard to translate, if it's a play on words, if it's a funny sign, they just go, forget it. We won't bother. And
close enough.
They don't even bother. The funny thing is, they'll be speaking in Spanish the whole time, and then when they break into song, it's just the song in English sung by our American cast. They just go, we won't even bother with this. And yet, again, those are the people getting about 40% of the jokes and loving the 40% they get.
Is there ever a joke, Mike, that you've written or one of the guys has written and you guys go, there's no way people are going to get this? And they do get it or they don't? I mean, is there any one particular joke you can think of? I'll
tell this story. It's been written about a couple of times where there's the scene in the Halloween show where Homer goes into the land of 3 dimensions.
Yep.
And there's an equation. Yes, so you may know this story.
Sure.
There's an equation in the background. 1742 to the 12th plus 1811 to the 12th equals 1914 to the 12th power. And I go, hey, that's pretty cool. And like 5 years later, because I know math, I said, wait, that equation can't be correct at all. It violates Fermat's last theorem. All right, obscure math, higher math. So I called David Cohen, who wrote the episode, and I said, David, that equation in your episode can't be correct. And David goes, I know. That's the joke. And he even,
David Cohen.
that's how he talks. And he said, although it's not correct, it is correct to the first 300 places, so it would fool a computer. So that's the kind of joke. You don't get jokes like that on Bob's Burgers. You know?
No.
Wow.
No, it's immediate like, oh, yeah, these nerds went to Harvard. That's what we're dealing with here is these, because there's occasionally an equation on the board and nerds can't wait to solve it and go, oh, yeah, now I get it. Now I get the joke. I've always been fascinated by that. The fact that so many of the writers on The Simpsons were Harvard guys. I don't know if that's a big deal, but it seems like you guys would be scientists and brain surgeons and Wall Street guys. But no, you're writing jokes on Fox on a cartoon.
Yes.
Why?
I mean, I don't want anybody to get the impression Harvard is a funny place or it's fun or it's anything. I mean, Harvard, in terms of fun, comes in somewhere between Baghdad and Aleppo. It is not a fun place at all. But there were a bunch of us who hated the place, who felt marginalized by the place, who couldn't find a home at Harvard, who wound up at the Harvard Lampoon, the humor magazine. And that's where half the Simpsons staff came out of, and that's where the staff of Veep came out of. That's where Conan O'Brien learned comedy. So, yeah, we came out of Harvard, but we were definitely busy writing comedy when we should have been going to class and learning organic chemistry and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where you met Al, was Harvard. And I noticed in the book, as you got not too far into it, you started to refer to we and us and Al and me. And it seemed like the industry was viewing you guys as writing partners before you even really explained that you were. How did it come to be that you and Al hooked up for such a successful run as writing partners?
We started off, we were roommates in college, and we were both writing for the Lampoon. And one night we were in bunk beds. I mean, it's a little too precious. So Al and I were in bunk beds at like 2 a.m.
Who was on top?
And we I was on top.
Oh, good.
Nice.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah, and that's it. Yes, I was on top of Al. Okay, yes.
No. You want to be on the top bunk. The top bunk is better than the lower bunk. I was worried the top bunk was going to collapse on me.
Oh, okay. Yes. Boy, what a loss for comedy that could have been. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it wasn't a gay joke at all.
Okay, well, it should have been. I mean, as gay jokes go, it's a doozy. But so Al and I, we were both talking at 2 a.m. about how we both had the same book of magic tricks when we were 10 years old, and we were just talking about it, making jokes about it. We said, we should write a parody of that. So it's the first thing we ever wrote together was a parody called Spooky Magic. And then we would just write on and off together, sometimes separately, sometimes together. And then Hollywood called us out. They had read an article we had written together for National Lampoon, and we got invited to go to Hollywood and write jokes. So they sort of made a team out of us. And it was one of the great partnerships in history. We just never fought. We got along on everything. It was a lot of pressure writing for The Simpsons and then running The Simpsons, and I think we were very happy to have each other. So there's no real drama in it. It was we wrote every line together for 16 years, and then I wanted to do other things. I wanted to write children's books and plays and movies, and Al just wanted to go right back to The Simpsons, and he went back and never walked away again. Well, and I just go in a day a week now. I go in every Wednesday to work at The Simpsons.
Well, it's more than Sam Simon does.
Oh, yeah, he is dead.
Yeah. Well, but
Pretty good dead joke as dead jokes go,
What
Mike.
kind of a joke is that?
Seriously.
no,
It's really good.
the joke was that he didn't work for The Simpsons while he was alive for years and collected huge salaries on the back of The Simpsons.
Yes.
That was the joke.
Now I get you. You're having real communications with
I'm not a specialist in gay and dead jokes.
gay and dead jokes. Wow, if you could combine the two, if you got some great Freddie Mercury joke, I'm really dying to
Oh
hear.
yeah, I've been working my AIDS jokes around. I'm still. I'm not ready to present him to a guy like you, Mike. But
That's
when I think of my life and Jay, we've been friends since high school. Worked at Gene's Hardware in our late teens, or maybe even early. I don't know, probably late teens. But I know where we were in our 20s, and it was nowhere to be proud of. And here, you and Al Jean are literally put in charge as showrunners of one of the biggest shows on television in your 20s. I mean, that had to be massive pressure. And their instructions to you were, don't screw this up. And
Right.
I just can't imagine how you could do that. I mean, maybe you should explain what a showrunner is, because a lot of people probably don't know what that means.
Yeah, a showrunner, I mean, it sounds easy to say he runs the show.
Right.
But it's different job. No. I know that was the warm-up. But on an animated show, it's the worst job you can imagine. Because usually a showrunner, he supervises the scripts and the rewrites and makes sure the scripts are good. But on an animated show, you literally do everything. It's not just the writing. You have to direct the actors. You have to edit the audio tracks. You have to edit video. You have to figure out where music and sound effects go. If you say, oh, there's a donkey on The Simpsons, you've got to help design the donkey and describe what a donkey looks like in The Simpsons universe. Everything has to be built, and it was far and away the hardest job I ever had in my life. I worked 100 hours a week, 51 weeks a year. I gained 70 pounds, and every day I would say, God, please give me a heart attack. I thought, a heart attack, that'll get me out of work for a week. That's all I needed was a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very tough. And the show was a hit, and beloved by America, and beloved by the critics. So Al and I were scared to death. I talked about those are the 30 tasks we had to do on the show. We were not trained in any of them. We didn't know how to do anything. So we learned as we went along, and it turned out okay. And then we ran like rabbits at the end of 2 years.
Yeah.
We got the hell out of there.
Well, thank God you were young, but I imagine, are you guys at that point, the showrunners, are you guys in charge of final go-ahead on, say, a joke that a writer writes?
Yeah. Yeah, we try as much as we can. It's democratic. Everything is democratic on The Simpsons. We need a joke for a spot, and 6 writers sit around a table. They throw out jokes until something makes 4 people laugh. You got to get more than the majority of people laughing. It goes in the script, and sometimes I'll go, I don't think it's funny at all, but it got a laugh. It goes in, and then we'll listen to the cast read it out loud. And again, we just listened. Did it get a laugh or it didn't? So it becomes very mechanical that way and very fair. And even if you're watching The Simpsons at home and going, why did they think that's funny? I swear to you, at some point, a room full of people laughed at that joke.
Yeah. Well, the story you tell in this book, and maybe you can tell it if I just set it up for you, but the one about Al Jean, when you guys are trying to wrap up an evening of writing, and it's like, well, I think we got the last joke. We're good. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later. And Al just goes, I think we did it.
Right. This is the story. This, we're talking about Al the genius, and this even shocked me, and I've known him for 35 years. We were writing a joke, and it's just Grandpa at the nursing home, and I pitched this joke. Grandpa says, I want to watch TV, and Jasper says, who died and made you boss? And Grandpa says, Fred, and he points to Fred, who's dead on the ground holding the remote.
Great joke.
Right?
It's a great joke. Great joke.
Yeah, good. Everybody laughs, and Al Jean says, I think we did it. And he turns to our secretary and says, pull up script 7F17. Now, he doesn't say, pull up the one where Grandpa gets a girlfriend, or pull up, Grandpa, the old man and the she, or something. He didn't give a title. He gave the script number, which means pull up the 17th episode from our 7th season 22 years ago. And she has them all archived. She pulls up the script on screen, He says, go to page 30, 31, 32. There it is. Let's keep pitching.
And that's just.
And he didn't even do. If I was him, I would have done a literal victory lap. I would have run around the table. Oh, yeah, I'm so smart.
Right. But that's got to be. What is that? Just photographic memory. Period. Right.
Yes. I mean, I lured Al into the world of comedy. He went to school to be a doctor, and I mean, if I hadn't gotten him into comedy, he would have cured cancer and Alzheimer's. There would be no disease left in the world, but instead he's running The Simpsons.
Thank God.
So you're welcome.
I'd rather have disease and The Simpsons than not have disease. You know what I mean? And risk The Simpsons being as good as it is. So thank God you talked him into comedy.
So, Mike, how long?
By the way, is Sam Simon's epitaph. I'd rather have disease in The Simpsons.
Hey, Mike, how long does it take to produce a full episode?
It takes us 9 months, just like a baby. It's 9 months. And just like a baby, it's messy and expensive. And about 4 months in, you think, why did I do this? Well, it's too late to stop now.
Was there ever any consideration, like South Park famously cranks it out like every week or whatever? Was there ever any consideration to speed up the Simpsons production in order to stay like more timely on top of current events and so forth? No, absolutely not. And I think it's one reason. If you watch an episode in syndication, you can't tell was it made last year or 23 years ago. It keeps us from doing easy, topical jokes. I mean, you know, Trump is writing us material every day now, and we could do lots of fun shows about them. But in 10 years, you could be watching the show and go, what was that, huh? Who's Stormy Daniels, you know?
Right.
Well, speaking of Trump, do you take any credit for making the call on him all those many years ago?
Oh, yes, we did that. You know, the setup for the joke was the year 2000. So we not only we called it 16 years ahead. And it was just, you know, the joke goes by in a second because it's just, the setup was, what's the dumbest thing we could imagine America doing? Somebody said, President Trump. Got a big laugh in the room. And right before the secretary typed it up, somebody said, do you think that's too dumb?
Wow.
It's a great joke, though. And I remember when it aired because Lisa was becoming president. It was like, okay, we're going this route because we just came off the dumbest situation ever where President Trump. And, you know, it was people remembered it immediately when he ran for president. It's crazy. I mean, that's happened to you guys a few times, though, over the years.
It's about, we got 3 things right. I mean, I love how it's grown in people's imagination, and our ratings went up last year, and I think it's people who are watching us to see the future. You know, it's like the horoscope. But I think we only got 3 things right in 30 years, so we get 1 a decade. So, but that's better than most kind of professional psychics.
Sure. And there has to be, though, when you've got a production that takes 9 months to spit out 1 episode, there has to be times when it's like, oh, shit, we got to change that because 4 months into the process, something happened that made this not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, the one thing I think it's only happened to us once is we had a guest star on the show playing herself, and she died before the show aired, and that we had to cover. It was Eartha Kitt was playing, I think, one of Krusty's ex-wives. We had to do that. There's a couple of times we just tied an episode to current events, and it scared the life out of me. One is a very famous Halloween show where Kang and Kodos are pretending to be Clinton and Dole running for president. And so it was tied to the election. It was going to air on Halloween, and then the presidential election would be 3 days later. But they're all over that episode, Clinton and Dole, and we said, I just praying, don't let somebody shoot these guys until Halloween. You know, after Halloween, shoot away, boys, but don't wreck our Halloween show.
Yeah. And what would you have done if something would have happened?
I don't know. I don't know. It was too big a thing to fix. The other one, it just happened 2 years ago, I think. The Simpsons went to Cuba, and Fidel Castro is all over that show again. And he was 91 years old. And so for 9 months, I'm going, keep Fidel Castro healthy. God,
Yeah.
Don't kill this terrible despot. And what was unbelievable, the episode, he lived through the year, the episode came on, and then he died 12 days later.
Wow.
12 days. I'm there. Wow, Fidel hung on just to help us in this episode.
Yeah, for your episode. One of the other things, Mike, and we appreciate all the time, man. Again, we're talking to you about your book, Springfield Confidential. Mike Reiss is who we're talking to. Been with The Simpsons since day one. Network executives, you talk about them, and they remind me very much of radio consultants. They don't have a job if they don't have something to bitch about, so they throw whatever retarded, stupid idea out there, and you're stuck listening to them. But you guys... at some point struck a deal that banned executives, even the president of Fox, was not allowed to come into your world at all. Was it always that way, or was that something where you guys had to earn that over a couple years? How did that work? Because that's very rare.
Yes, it's next to impossible. And what helped us was we had James L. Brooks, the most kind of respected comedy producer in TV history with Taxi and Mary Tyler Moore Show. He was there, and it was the Fox Network, which was a brand new entity at the time. And so they had to listen to him. He said, if you want this show, you are never allowed anywhere near the production of the show. And that's something, if you ever wonder why network TV is terrible, that's why. It's executives all over it. And there are more and more executives. The worse, the lower TV ratings get, the more executives they hire. And when you watch great stuff on Netflix or HBO, that's because they have no executives. They have people who buy the product, and if they trust the producers, if they like the script, they go, all right, go ahead, make the show. We're not going to interfere. But so Jim Brooks got us that at the start of The Simpsons. And,
huge.
It worked. How about that? We managed to make this great show without any help from the MBAs who work at Fox.
It's just incredible, and I don't know what the point is. I mean, they're not writers, they're not comedy people. Is it? Do you think it's just ego? They want to be able to say, "Oh, I put my stamp on this. I did that. That was my joke or my line," because they're always terrible.
Yes, they're all. I mean, there was literally one good one when we did the critics for ABC. ABC had an executive who was so good and thoughtful and helpful on the show that Jim Brooks hired her away and put her in charge of his company. But she was the only one. And you realize, it was the kind of thing you realize, they're supposed to be helping. I mean, that's why they're there. They're supposed to tell you, they're supposed to just be like the audience, sitting there and telling you things you don't realize because you're too close to it. It shouldn't be that hard a job, but I've literally only met the one good executive of probably 100 I've worked with over the years.
Yeah. I got a couple. I have so many questions here for you. If you don't mind, can I ask you just a couple more really quick?
Absolutely. No problem.
Thank you. Are there characters on The Simpsons that you personally are like, I'm just not a crazy fan about it? Like when you're writing jokes or writing a storyline, it's like, personally, I'm not really a Lisa guy. I love Homer. I can watch Burns for eternity. But are there, even for you guys, characters it's like, it's not my favorite to write for?
Marge is hard. Marge is hard to write, but she can be funny. And, we have a couple of writers who can do her great, that just have a good eye for how she talks and the way she thinks. So we've got Marge covered. The two characters I don't like, and a lot of people like them just fine, are Patty and Selma. I just think they're sort of ugly. I mean, not ugly, they're physically ugly, but I mean, it's just sort of a misogynistic, kind of old maid, ugly, mean characters.
For those that don't know, those are
I'm
those are Marge's twin sisters or whatever, Selma and Patty. They just chain smoke and they hate Homer.
Right. Yeah. And we would just always do jokes about their stubbly, hairy legs and how men hated them. And every time we give them a little nuance, I like it. I'm glad we made Patty a lesbian. I go, all right, that's something a little interesting. Or the fact that Selma, every couple of years, she marries another marginal character who tries to murder her.
Yeah.
I go, okay, that's something. And it just keeps them from being a pair of kind of sitcom battle axes.
The other thing, when you're talking about guys that voice, and I think that you guys have the most amazing voice guys in the world. You really do. And, you know, Harry Shearer is one that comes to mind. And he does Mr. Burns. He does Smithers. Flanders, Kent Brockman. And you talk about how in here, when he does Burns and Smithers and they're having a conversation together, he just does it all as one thing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make mistakes.
He has never made a mistake in 30 years. He'll do these long scenes of the two of them talking to each other. He switches back and forth. There's at least one long scene that involves Burns, Smithers, and Dr. Hibbert. So now he was doing 3 people and never tripped up.
Wow.
They're all pretty great at it. The funny thing is Dan Castellaneta, Homer and Krusty and Grandpa and so many great characters on the show, you know, he's a very smart man, and he only trips up when he reads Homer. He'll get his words all mixed up, and I think he's sort of channeling Homer and it knocks about 40 IQ points off of him.
Oh, that's funny. The other one that was a great loss for the show was Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was a guest star, but he did Lionel Hutz, the attorney. Troy McClure, perhaps you remember me for such films. I mean, they were so great. And when Phil was murdered by his wife, you guys retired those characters. And E was telling me, Eric, you have a favorite joke from, is it Lionel Hutz?
Yeah, Lionel Hutz, he's there and he goes, we've drawn Judge Snyder. And they're like, is that bad? He's like, well, let's just say I accidentally ran over his dog, except for accidentally is repeatedly, and dog is son.
Right.
And it's one of my favorites ever.
I mean, that's a great joke. And we lost those characters, and you guys retired them. Was there any thought about, because you guys have enough talented guys on staff that could have recreated those voices?
It's funny, you know, it never came up for a second. And I don't know if we do that with other characters, if there are other easily imitated characters, but it may have been that just he was so special. No one can do those voices. If you're Futurama fans, you may know the character Zap Brannigan, who was supposed to be Phil Hartman and was written for Phil Hartman, and he died the week they were going to record Zap Brannigan's first episode.
Yeah.
So it's Billy West, who's one of the great mimics, one of the great voice actors of TV, doing his version of Phil Hartman, but it's not the same. It's a funny character, but Phil would have made it just so real. You would have really believed he's that guy.
Yeah. And lastly, favorite guest stars or least favorite, if you guys had problems with some people? Michael Jackson, that's a funny story in the book.
Michael Jackson was just a joy. That was a real pleasure. If I can tell the story really quick.
Sure.
We wrote the script for him. I went to his house for rehearsals, and he's not only acting, he was singing, 2 feet away from me. He's singing Ben and Thriller and Lisa, It's Your Birthday. So then we get to the recording studio to record him. He's doing all the acting first. He's not a good actor. James L. Brooks, Oscar-winning director, couldn't get good performance out of Michael Jackson. But we go, it'll be worth it when Michael sings. And when we get to the singing part of the script, Michael goes, Kip, come in here. And this shrimpy white guy walks in, and it's Kip Lemon. It's Michael Jackson's authorized sound-alike. And so while Michael Jackson stood 2 feet away from the microphone, Kip Lemon does his Michael Jackson impression. And Michael thought this was so hilarious, and the rest of us are going, what the hell's going on here? We never understood it. He never explained it. But if you watch that episode again, the Stark Raving Dad, the Michael Jackson episode, and listen to the singing, you'll see it's not an imitation of Michael. The guy's doing a parody of Michael Jackson. He was making fun of Michael to amuse Michael Jackson. And it's a little over the top.
What a weirdo.
So Michael voices his part, but this Kip guy sings his part. Bizarre.
That's right. Yeah, we got the great acting talent of Michael Jackson without his second-rate singing.
Who needs his singing style? Did he actually write the song Lisa, It's Your Birthday? That's a great song, actually. It's very, very catchy. Did you guys write that, or did he write that?
He wrote that one. That was, I'll tell you a funny story. I've never told this, which was we're meeting with Michael Jackson, and we're telling him the plot, and we said, and there'll be a song at the end, Lisa, It's Your Birthday. And Michael's going, oh, I could write that. And Matt Groening's going, no, we don't want to trouble you, and we're kicking Matt under the table. Michael Jackson just said he'd write a song for us.
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah,
that's
he wrote that.
That's hilarious. What an honor, too.
Hey, last one
Yeah.
for me, Mike. Aside from keeping executives out of the picture, what's been the secret to the longevity of the show?
You know, nobody could figure that out for the longest time. And then one day it hit me, if The Simpsons wasn't on TV, the longest running show would be South Park. And if the South Park wasn't on TV, the longest running show would be Family Guy. And you just suddenly realize cartoons run forever. And in fact, the only reason other shows go off the air is because the actors get bored, the actors get tired. Or they're, you know, if just think, if Seinfeld had wanted to keep doing Seinfeld, of course people would still watch a Seinfeld show. You know, we're seeing it with all these reboots. You know, it's like all these actors come back after 20 years off, and there's the audience. We're still willing to watch the people we liked 20 years ago. So that, I think that's really the secret. We were a hit show for whatever reason, but once you're a hit, you can run forever as long as your cast doesn't get out of control.
Yeah. All right, last one for me. I notice you speak highly of Rob Schneider in your book. Rob Schneider's a
Yes,
prick.
I do.
Yeah, he's a prick. I had a huge run-in and fight with him one day, and we don't have the time to get into it, but just trust me, you're wrong about him. And lastly, Scott Ian is dying to be a guest star on your show. The Anthrax guitarist, we talked to him a couple months ago, and that's like his ultimate goal is to be a guest star on The Simpsons.
You know, this is how people get to be guest stars on the show, is they put their names out there.
Yeah.
We file it away, and sooner or later we'll meet Scott Ian. So
There you go.
This is how it's done.
Mike Reiss,
Okay,
thank you
gotta
so much
go.
for the time,
Thank
buddy.
you guys.
Take
Loved
Thank
it.
you. Loved it. Us too.
Bye.
Bye. Springfield Confidential, jokes, secrets, and outright lies from a lifetime of writing for The Simpsons. That was Mike Reiss. What an honor. It's a really good book. And I'm sorry, E.
It's all right. I know it. It's fine.
I was going to end it with Scotty wants to be a gang, and E.
I know.
I know you want to ask a
I don't have
question
a
really
qu-
quick, but
it's fine, dude. I was just
Yeah.
curious about this writer, John Swartzwelder, who's just known to be an absolute weirdo, but he's written the most episodes ever of a Simpsons episodes, and some of the best probably.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, he was known as like just a chain smoker. He was rich as fuck, but he would still drive around in this 80s car. And I just
Yeah.
was very curious what his kind
he
of
does
interaction with them.
reference that in the book, and it's like this might be the only picture in existence of John.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
like he's one of those guys that doesn't want anything to do with anyone, and just. But he comes in and it's like he could spit out 10 jokes in 1 minute. Like we're talking about this, and he'd be like, boom, 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 and it's like, yep, okay, episode's done. Thanks, John. And so he sounds like some sort of savant genius or whatever, but. Boy, that was fun, man. I hope people enjoyed hearing from Mike Reiss again at Springfield Confidential. Go get the book; you won't be disappointed. We will have that in our bookstore, correct, Jay?
Correct.
Awesome. So you can go there; it'll take you right through our link, and we get a little extra credit for it.
There you go.
Please do it.